Dear students of class 6, today I am going to teach you chapter number 14 from the book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So, let's start. Chapter number 14. Tom finds a way out. We must go back to Tom and Becky's part in the picnic. They went happily along the passages with the rest of the children, visiting all the well-known wonders of the cave, the hall, the great church, Aladdin's palace, and others. Then they joined in the fun in and out of the side passages. After that, they wandered down one of the passages, holding their candles up and reading the names, dates, addresses, and other things written in candle smoke, and all mixed together, still moving along and talking. They hardly noticed that they were now in a part of the cave that had no writing on the walls. At last, Becky said, "Tom, I didn't notice, but it seems a long time since I heard any of the others." "You are right, Becky. We must start back." They started along a passage and went in silence for a long way, looking into each opening. But all the openings were strange. Every time Tom examined a new passage, Becky watched his face, hoping to see him show that he knew it. And he always said, "Oh, it's all right. This isn't the one, but we will come to it. Don't worry, Becky." At last, Tom had to tell her that he couldn't find the way forward or back. Tom, we are lost. We are lost. We will never get out of this terrible place. Oh, why did we ever leave the others? After a time, Tom took Becky's candle and blew it out. No words were needed. Becky understood. They had to save their candles. She knew that Tom had a whole candle and 3 or 4 pieces in his pocket, but they had to use them carefully. She began to lose all hope. At last, Becky couldn't go any further. She sat down. Tom sat with her and they talked about home and the friends there, and the comfortable beds, and most of all, the lights. After a time, Becky fell asleep. When she woke, Tom said, "I'm glad you slept, Becky. You will feel rested now, and we will find the way out." A long time after that, Tom said they must go quietly and listen for water. They must find a spring. They found one in the end, and Tom said it was time to rest again. When Becky wanted to go on, Tom was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Becky, can you bear it if I tell you something? I'm afraid we must stay here, where there is water to drink. This little piece is our last candle. We must wait till they find us." Becky cried, but at last she said, "When will they miss us, Tom?" "When they get back to the boat, I expect." "Tom, it might be dark then. Would they notice we were not there?" "I don't know, but of course your mother will miss you as soon as they arrive." The look on Becky's face told Tom that he had made a bad mistake. It could be a long time before Mrs. Thatcher discovered that Becky was not at Mrs. Harper's. They sat and watched as the last bit of candle burnt down and went out. They were in darkness. Sleep came to them while Becky was crying in Tom's arms. It seemed a very long time before either of them spoke, and then it was Tom who said, "Shh, did you hear that?" They both stopped breathing and listened. There was a sound like a very far distant shout. Tom answered it at once. Then, leading Becky by the hand, he started feeling his way down the passage towards it. After a time, he listened again. Again they heard the sound, and it seemed a little nearer. "It's them," said Tom. "They are coming. Come along, Becky. We are all right now." They were full of joy, but they had to move slowly. The floor of the passage was uneven. It wasn't long before they came to a deep hole or drop and had to stop. Tom couldn't find the bottom. He shouted again and again, but the distant shouts were getting farther away. After a few minutes, they had gone altogether. Tom talked hopefully to Becky, but they heard nothing else, and at last they felt their way back to the spring. Time passed slowly, and now, because they were so hungry, painfully. There were some side passages near the spring, and Tom decided to explore them. He had a fishing line in his pocket, about 60 meters. He fastened one end to a rock point beside the spring. And he started along the nearest side passage. Becky said she would wait. She was very weak now and couldn't find the strength to go with him. Tom felt his way along carefully, letting out the fishing line as he went. At the end of about 15 meters, the passage door ended in a At the end of about 15 meters, the passage floor ended in a drop. Tom lay down and felt below, and then as far round the corner as he could reach. Nothing. He stretched a little further to the right, and at that moment, not more than 20 meters away, a hand holding a handle appeared from behind a rock. Tom gave a joyful shout, and immediately the hand was followed by the body. It belonged to Injunjo's. Tom couldn't move. He was very glad when he saw the Spaniard turn quickly and move out of sight as fast as he could. "Why didn't Joe come and kill me for giving evidence in court?" Tom asked himself. He decided that the cave walls had changed the sound of his voice, but his fright made him very weak. "If I can get back to the spring, I will stay there," he thought. "I dare not take the chance of meeting Injunjo again." He was careful not to tell Becky what he had seen. I only shouted for luck, he said. But hunger and misery are stronger than fear in the end. After a long wait at the spring, Tom decided to explore a passage in the other direction. He went along it to the end of his fishing line. Then he tried another passage and another. He followed one more passage as far as his line would reach, and he was just going to go back once more to Becky when he thought he saw a suggestion of delight far away. He dropped his line and felt his way towards the place, pushed his head and shoulders through a small hole, and saw the broad Mississippi rolling by. And saw the broad Mississippi rolling by. Okay, now I will discuss about the question answer of this chapter. Question number 1. Why did Tom blow Becky's candle out? And the answer is, when Tom told Becky that he couldn't find the way forward or back, Becky became frightened. They lost their way. They did not know how long they would have to stay in the cave. So Tom took Becky's candle and blew it out because they had to save their candles. Though Tom had a whole candle and 3 or 4 pieces in his pocket, they had to use them carefully. Question number 2. Where did Tom decide to wait? When in the cave, Tom and Becky couldn't find the way forward or back, Tom said that they must find a spring. They found one in the end and they took rest there. When Becky wanted to go on, Tom suggested that they should stay there, where there was water to drink, and that little piece was their last candle. So Tom decided to wait near the spring till people found them. Question number 3. Whose hand and then body did Tom see? And the answer is, Tom decided to explore the side passages near the spring, and he started along the nearest side passage. Tom stretched a little further to the right, and at that moment, not more than 20 meters away, a hand holding a handle appeared from behind a rock. Tom gave a joyful shout, and immediately the hand was followed by the body it belonged to in Junjo's. Number 4. How did Tom find his way back to the spring? At first, when Tom and Becky heard a sound like a very far distant shout, they moved slowly. But the distant shouts were getting further away gradually. At last, they felt their way back to the spring. For the second time, when Tom decided to explore the side passages near the spring, he fastened one end of his 60 meter long fishing line to a rock point beside the spring and started along the nearest side passage. Finally, Tom found his way back to the spring with the help of the fishing line. Number 5. What was the suggestion of delight? And the answer is, When Tom decided to explore a passage in the other direction, he went along it to the end of his fishing line. Then he tried another passage and another. At last he thought he saw a suggestion of daylight far away. He dropped his line and felt his way towards the place, pushed his head and shoulders through a small hole, and saw the broad Mississippi rolling by. So the suggestion of daylight was the small hole through which the daylight was coming. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.